A big hire for the Phoenix Suns as they are adding James Posey, a former NBA player, a former NBA champion, to the assistant coaching staff. Mike Budenholzer filling his staff quite nicely with experience and former players. James Posey, with some coaching experience coming in to the ranks, is going to hopefully help make the Suns a champion as he was during his playing days. We are going to break it all down for you guys right here on Suns Digest. My name is CJ Pierre. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you. We're going to get into the latest news with the Suns adding to their coaching staff. But before we get into it, we noticed that about 83% of you guys who have been watching our channel from the beginning, we appreciate you, but you haven't subscribed to the channel just yet. If you want to make sure you're keeping up to date with all the latest Suns news and updates as we head into training camp and into the upcoming season, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing that we're going to have cooking for you guys as we continue over the course of this summer. Now, let's get into it. The Suns hiring James Posey to be an assistant coach. Let's get into a little background on James Posey really quickly before we get into the kind of the news of the day. The news being broken by Adrian Wojnarowski, another Woj bomb, saying James Posey is joining the Phoenix Suns as an assistant coach. Posey, who had a 12-year NBA playing career, has had coaching stops with the Wizards, the Washington Wizards, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So James Posey was really one of the first 3-and-D players, really one of the first guys who was efficient and active on the defensive end, but also was able to knock down perimeter shots. He really kind of helped bridge that gap, helped space the floor. That's kind of the player that he was. He was one of those guys in the mid 2000s where he really began to shine and was able to be a part of a couple of championship teams. And he is going to now join a Phoenix Suns coaching staff that now adds another former player to it. Brent Barry, the news coming yet that we talked about yesterday. Now James Posey, another former champion, another former player, another guy who can relate to the players in this day and age, joining Mike Budenholzer's staff. If we take a look at James Posey's accolades, he played 12 NBA seasons and won an NBA championship as a player with the Miami Heat in the 05-06 season and another with the Boston Celtics in the 07-08 season. He was an 18th overall pick back in 1999 out of Xavier. Played for 7 different NBA teams at Miami and Boston, as we mentioned, but also Denver, Houston, Memphis, along with stops in New Orleans and Indiana. So James Posey kind of coming over and can really be a factor with the experience of his playing career, played for a long time, over a decade, and is can, bridge that gap between, maybe that analytical side that we see from some coaching staffs and also the playing side, the experience side of being on the court and in big high pressure situations in NBA championship games. Now let's take a look at his coaching history. He did spend some time coaching in the G League with the Canton Charge before being called up, if you will, and was a part coaching a member of the coaching staff for the Cleveland Cavaliers for some time. He was a part of Ty Lue's coaching staff with Cleveland when they won the NBA championship in 2015-2016. And that was the team that came back from the 3-1 deficit with LeBron James to beat the 73-win Golden State Warriors squad. He then also spent time coaching with the Washington Wizards for the past 2 seasons, including being there for Bradley Beal's final season with the Washington Wizards in 2022-2023. Now, let's just kind of pause there for a moment and just kind of talk about that Beal connection. Bradley Beal, the addition for him, kind of came with some criticism. High value contract, no trade clause. Would he really be able to fit in with what the Suns were doing with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker? Obviously, they lost true point guard Chris Paul in that deal. Now, Bradley Beal in his first season with Phoenix, kind of disappointed. Kind of didn't really live up to expectations. Obviously, injuries played a factor in that, but it didn't seem like he necessarily felt comfortable in with his role in the offense. Now, obviously, that was a completely different coaching staff. Mike Budenholzer is going to change things up. He's more of an offensive mind. Bringing in someone like James Posey, who has some familiarity with Bradley Beal, is a great get. I think it's an added addition. Posey knows Beal, knows what he likes to do on the court, and can lend his thoughts and his credence in terms of what he can do to help make Bradley Beal the most effective he can be on this Suns squad. So I think adding James Posey to this coaching staff is a really, really brilliant move on the behalf of Mike Budenholzer, GM James Jones, and owner Matt Ishbia. So now we got really a whole new look of this Suns coaching staff, the new look Suns coaching staff, if you will. Mike Budenholzer bringing in his guys, bringing in guys that he thinks are going to help keep that win now mentality with this Suns team and with this Suns franchise. If we take a look at this updating coaching staff, you got new head coach Mike Budenholzer, assistant coach Dave Fizdale, who is also a former head coach in his own right. You got assistants with a playing background. That's Brent Barry, as we talked about yesterday, and now James Posey. You've also got Vince Lagarza, Chad Forcier, and Chaseon Allen filling out the coaching staff. Now, there are probably going to be some additional members added to the staff, assistants to the assistants, other names, but this is probably going to be the core group, the guys that are going to maybe be in that front row that we see on the sidelines during Suns games, and these are going to be the guys who the players are going to really be leaning on. The guys who are going to really have their voices heard in that huddle during practice. These are the guys that are going to really have the impact. Probably the most focus on guys like David Fizdale, Brent Barry, and James Posey. Dave Fizdale, the former head coach, former players, really the ones that are going to gain a lot of the respect and attention, especially when you have a veteran laden team like the Suns currently have. So many players well into their NBA careers. And then you have, the young pieces that are going to also, need to be developed. But in terms of the guys who are going to get play the bulk of the minutes, a bulk of the playing time, bulk of, having the expectations on them as we move into the playoffs, over the course of the season, hopefully building to the playoffs. Guys like Posey, guys like Barry are going to be very integral in terms of what happens on the Suns roster. Now, I mentioned James Posey has the championship experience as well that the Suns are looking for. He won an NBA championship with the Miami Heat in '06. That was when the Heat beat the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals. And then he also won one and a part of the Boston Celtics. That was kind of the original big three there with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce in 2008. So Posey brings that championship pedigree. He brings that player mentality, hard nosed defensive mentality as well. He'll probably have a lot of input in terms of what the Suns end up doing defensively, which is probably the biggest question mark that we're going to have heading into the season. We know what Budenholzer is going to be able to do. We think he's going to be able to unlock the Suns' offense, but what is that defense going to look like? The only gauge that we kind of really have right now is what the Suns looked like during summer league play, and obviously those are rookies, guys who maybe won't make NBA rosters, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. But we saw a lot of fundamental errors, a lot of miscommunications in terms of help defense, a lot of good necessary individual on ball defense, particularly when we're talking about guys like Ryan Dunn. But you really want to see something that will help you feel like the Suns are going to be at least a average to above average defensive team, despite the fact that they're going to have so much firepower offensively. Maybe a guy like James Jones, who is one of those traditional 3-and-D players, that's kind of the player that he was, the role he played. Maybe he's going to be able to bring some defensive concepts into what the Phoenix Suns are doing, while guys like Dave Fizdale, Budenholzer, and Brent Barry are going to be really running the show on offense with the obviously the input of the star players, Beal, Booker, and Durant. But I think James Posey is going to be a good hire for this Suns team. I think he is going to be a welcome addition. I think he's going to be someone who's going to have his voice heard. He's going to have a loud voice in that huddle and hopefully get players to kind of lock in, especially during the dog days of the NBA season when things kind of slow down in the regular season. Keep the importance alive in terms of where the Suns are positioned in the regular season, and hopefully that provides dividends as we head to the end of the season and into the postseason. I know it's early, know the season hasn't started yet. We're already thinking postseason, but that's kind of what you have to do when you're building a win now team, championship or bust team, and that's kind of what the Suns are. So, and I think James Posey is going to be a good addition to that. So that's just what I think. We want to hear from you guys. What do you think about the Suns hiring James Posey as an assistant coach? Let us know in the comments below. Let us know. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Do you think he's going to have a big impact, or do you think it's just another assistant coach who's not really going to mean much to what the Suns do? Let us know in the comments. We appreciate all of the love and support we get from you guys. If you want to make sure you're keeping up to date with all of the latest Suns news and updates, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing that we are going to have for you guys over the rest of the summer and leading up into training camp. Now, that's all the time I got for you guys today. Thanks for joining us here on Suns Digest. My name is CJ Pierre, and I will catch you guys next time. And go, Phoenix Suns.